all of their big events, their big marches have been surrounding Black people who were murdered by the police. There have been, to my knowledge, no huge marches or Black Lives Matter rallies around Black people who were shot by other Black people. And so there are some folks who criticize that and say, because Black Lives Matter has become such a huge organization, they have a responsibility to get more involved in situations where Black people are killing each other.
The whole movement seems to be surrounded by the need for white people to wake up and see what's happening. You know what I mean? Like, it's the only way that anything is going to be helped is if everyone acknowledges the fact that Black people have a plight, or that we've been dealing with things for a very long time. And it seems like their only real strength comes from that white backing.
Isn't that the way the civil rights movement was, though?
It seems a little different. Just off of the simple fact that right now, it seems like the white voice is what's guiding the Black Lives Matter movement. And it wasn't like that in the civil rights movement, because you had leaders that were stepping to the forefront. I know Hudson, like, he likes the guy here in Chicago. What's his name? Jamal Green. I've never heard him speak, but I mean, I've seen a few videos and whatnot, him at Chase Bank, but I don't think he's a Black Lives Matter leader, right? He's just the activist.
So you feel like Black Lives Matter won't get involved in situations of Black on Black violence because it's really run by white people?
I don't think it does anything for them. It's just like right now, like you have Chicago comedians are getting together right now and doing what they can to try and do something to get. You barely even heard about it. You heard about it on Channel 7 News for about a 2 or 3 minute spot. Mm-hmm. Other than that, you don't see any video on it. That pastor and whatnot that's on 76th and Racine, that man has been speaking about violence in the neighborhoods and whatnot, and he's been marching and doing all kinds of stuff for years.
You talking about Father Pfleger?
Father Pfleger, yeah. You've never seen a video, not one. And if you have, you saw it on Facebook or something like that on your buddies, what you call, because they was out there just happened to, videotape them as they were walking by in the neighborhood or something like that. So the white voice for right now gets to talk to CNN and push their thing across, and which kind of fuels the fire for conservative arguments that Black Lives Matter is literally just a leftist movement. It's a liberal movement because it's white people that's running it. I don't see anything Black involved in it. We were talking about that Christopher Columbus statue and why are Black people involved with Christopher Columbus? I don't understand. Did he bring Black slaves over here after he started killing Indians? So why are Black Lives Matter matching over statues of Christopher Columbus? That's why I talked about, like, maybe that should be put on the back burner. It doesn't make any sense to me. They all over the place. And as long as they're on the news and as long as they're being talked about and whatnot, it's fine. But if you come into a Black community and try and make statements, who's going to listen? Ain't going to be no TV cameras there for that. They don't care about that.
I think personally they should stay in the lane that they're in. And I mean, I think if people are complaining about why isn't this group doing this or why isn't that group doing that, well, maybe there's a place where you should start. I mean, if you think there needs to be a movement, why don't you do some legwork, get out there and help start this movement, help fund this movement that you want to see. Start talking to your aldermen, start talking to the local community activists that are around, because there are some around. This whole thing of, hey, why doesn't Black Lives Matter do this? Do they need to do everything for you? I mean, why is my sink flooding? Let me get Black Lives Matters over here. I mean, at some point we have to get out of this mindset of why don't stop pointing the finger. I think Samora, you said it earlier, stop pointing the finger out. Why aren't you doing it? Why aren't you doing it? How about you go ahead and make something happen? If it's something that you think is important, if you think there's a gap somewhere, be that gap filler and stop pointing at another movement. That movement is doing things. That movement is pushing forward with their agenda. So, if you don't want to be a part of that movement, that's fine. Make your own movement. But stop telling other movements what they should and should not do with their movement. it is their movement. I mean, that's plain and simple to me.
But at the same rate, though, at the same time, don't they have a platform that those people would need in order to make a statement? Don't they have that?
No,
Wouldn't their support actually mean something to them?
that's true. Their support would mean something, but I don't think you can say that, well, now you can't speak about any black causes because Black Lives Matter has basically sucked out the air out of the room. There's a huge swell of black people who believe that the real issue is the way black people kill each other and that the police brutality is a secondary issue. So where's the movement or the organization that is coalescing all the people that feel that way and gathering their resources to try to really fight, what you would call black on black crime? I don't see it. I see a whole lot of people sitting around pointing fingers at Black Lives Matter saying, well, why don't you guys do that? As if two organizations can't exist at the same time. To me, there are multiple issues currently impacting the black community, right? You got police brutality, you got violence where black people are killing other black people, you've got drug addiction, you've got mental health, you've got lack of housing availability. I don't feel like if you create an organization that tackles any one of these issues, that you should then end up with a bunch of criticism from the black community saying, well, why don't you deal with these other four issues as well? If my passion is housing and I want more black people to have a roof over their heads and a clean area for them to live, and that's what I'm working towards, why should I have to deal with a bunch of people coming at me saying, well, why don't you speak about this police brutality and what the police are doing out here? Like, I feel like there should be room for a bunch of different organizations to all be working towards the same goal of a safe, successful, stable black community.
If you want to criticize somebody, why don't you start something yourself? I get that. But at the same time, if you have a platform and you have a movement that's actually gearing towards what we're looking to do. If defunding the police is a good idea that could possibly help heal the black community, why wouldn't they be involved in that?
Black Lives Matter and the marches they've done have created the space in correlation with Colin Kaepernick kneeling and the rage regarding George Floyd's murder. All of this is coalesced into this space where we're now in a country that is very open to reimagining how we deal with police. But everybody has their own lane, right? Black Lives Matter isn't passing laws. They're not coming up with legislation. There are limited resources. There are limited times people are going to march up and down the streets. All right. So there's no way you could stretch and say, well, we're going to start covering violence in black communities while at the same time providing the level of effort towards police brutality that we've had. Police have been able to do whatever they wanted since slavery ended. All right. So what we're experiencing right now, as far as I'm concerned, is unprecedented. And I don't want anything that's going to damage it. What really needs to happen is a separate movement, a separate organization that people can coalesce around who believe that black people killing other black people is the real issue and what they would like to see dealt with.
There's a thing in business where you get these moments where you get caught up in the weeds and you lose track of the overall goal. Because when we talk about black on black crime, we're typically talking about why is Joe Blow shooting Joe Schmo over here. If they get caught up in the weeds of every time, who would you say Lil Durk, clears out and shoots 10 people, right? If they keep going to those weeds, they'll never come out because there's literally just so much of it that they will never come out and go to that big picture, which is defund the police and get these communities revved up again.